Hello dear students, today we can start another one lesson of 5th standard, chapter 12, Light and Shadow. The name of the lesson is Light and Shadow. Suppose you are sitting inside your room, it is night time, suddenly the electricity has gone. What will happen? Can you see anything? No, it is very dark. The room will be very dark and nothing can see, right? There is no light. So, light is a form of energy that helps us to see things. Without light, we cannot see anything, okay? Light helps us to see things. So, light is a form of energy that helps us to see things. Light is a form of energy that helps us to see things. All living things on earth depends on sunlight directly or indirectly for energy. Okay, all living things, human beings, all animals, all plants, all living things on our earth, it depends on which one? Sunlight. Okay, it depends on sunlight directly or indirectly for energy. Directly or indirectly for energy. So last year we have learned about the luminous and non-luminous objects. Do you remember that? What are luminous objects? Some objects, they produce light. Okay, such objects are called luminous objects. Some other objects, they do not produce any light. Okay, such objects are called non-luminous objects. In fact, light from the luminous objects help us to see the non-luminous objects. Okay, the light from the luminous objects help us to see the non-luminous objects. Luminous and non-luminous objects, they can be natural or man-made. Okay, sun is a natural luminous object, but torch is a man-made luminous objects. So, can you say which are the different example of luminous objects? See this here, this one, it produces light, so that it is a luminous object. What about the textbook? Textbook, it is not luminous, it is non-luminous object. What about the pen? It is non-luminous objects. Luminous objects, they produce light. Not only light, they produce heat also. Okay, heat energy also. Next is transparent, translucent and opaque materials. Let us learn about transparent, translucent and opaque materials. Materials can be put into three groups on the basis of the amount of light they allow to pass through them. The amount of light they allow to pass through them. Materials that allow light to pass through them completely. Such materials are called transparent materials. For example, air, water, clear glass are example of transparent materials. So, what are transparent materials? Materials that allow light to pass through them completely. Okay, to pass through them completely. Such materials are called transparent materials. What are the example? Give some example. Air, water, clear water. Okay, clear water, then clear glass. So these are the example of transparent materials. Then what are translucent materials? Materials that allow light to pass through them partially are called translucent materials. Materials that allow light to pass through them partially, not completely, okay? It's partially. So, such materials are called translucent materials. Things like frosted glass, okay? Then some plastic, butter paper, we cannot see clearly, okay? Partially we can see, okay? Through that we can see partially, okay? So, here we cannot see clearly through them, and objects on the other side of a translucent material appear unclear. Okay, so here we cannot see clearly through them. Okay, and objects on the other side of a translucent material appear unclear. It's not clear. Okay, next is opaque materials. What are opaque materials? Some materials, they do not allow light to travel through them. Okay, such materials are called opaque materials. For example, wood, stone, textbook, notebook, metals. So these are the example of opaque materials. Students, here we are learning about the transparent, translucent and opaque materials. Okay, so here book is a opaque material. See, can you see my face? No. Why? Light is not passing through this book, so you cannot see my face. What about this one? You can see my face, right? Because it's a clear glass. That's why we can see my face. It's a transparent material. That's why we can see my face. Next is shadow. Next topic is shadow. What is shadow? Light travels in a straight line. Isn't light always travels in a straight line? So when an opaque object, what is opaque object? Opaque object means some objects, they do not allow light to travel through them. Okay, such materials or such things are called opaque things or opaque materials. When an opaque object comes in the way of light, it gets blocked and cannot bend its path. So, thus a dark area is formed on the other side. So, this dark area is called a shadow. So, what is a shadow? When an opaque object comes in the way of light, so it gets blocked and cannot bend its path. So, a dark area is formed. This side dark area will form. So, that dark area is called shadow. A shadow will be formed on the other side. Understood? Did you understand? So, what is a shadow? When an opaque object comes in the way of light, it gets blocked and cannot bend its path. So, thus a dark area is formed on the other side. A dark area is formed on the other side. So, this dark area is called a shadow. Okay, have you ever seen the shadow? See, when you are standing in front of the sunlight, you will get the shadow. You can see the shadow on the back side. Okay, then a translucent object also forms a shadow. What is translucent object? Some materials that allow light to pass through them partially. Such materials are called translucent materials. A translucent object also form a shadow. However, a shadow would not be as dark as that formed by an opaque object. Okay, so that shadow is not that much dark. Okay, like an opaque object. As a translucent object will allow some light to pass through, so the shadow will be lighter. Translucent object, through the translucent object, some light is passing through. That's why the shadow will be lighter than the opaque materials. Okay, an opaque object does not allow light to pass through it. So that shadow will be, it forms a clear and dark shadow on the screen or on the ground. Screen means the place where the shadow is formed. Okay, so here then light from the sun. So if you are standing in front of the sunlight, the light is not passing through your body, right? So a shadow will be formed on the other side. Next is, what are the different conditions for shadow formation? Which are the different conditions for shadow formation? First one, a shadow will be formed only when there is a source of light. Okay, when there is a source of light, shadow will be formed. Okay, a shadow is formed only when light is blocked by an object. See, source of light should be there, and not only that, shadow is formed only when the light is blocked by an object. So this is the reason an object in the path of light should be opaque or translucent for a shadow to form. See here, an object should be there. Not only that, that object should be opaque or translucent object. If a transparent object, if you are keeping on the path of light, you won't get the shadow. Okay, the shadow, you will get the shadow only when the opaque or the translucent object should be there in the path of light. Then only you will get the shadow. Okay, then a screen should be present on which the shadow can form. What is screen? The place where the shadow form. Okay, so that is the screen or that marva. Okay, that is the shadow. Okay, a screen should be present on which the shadow is formed. Okay, screen means the place where the shadow form, that is called screen. Okay, that marva. Okay, then a screen should be present on which the shadow can form. What are the different characteristics of a shadow? What are the different characteristics of a shadow? A shadow will always be formed on the opposite side of the source of light. If the source of light this side, the shadow will be formed on the opposite side of the light. Okay. Then when the sun shines on your back, you see your shadow in the front of you. Okay. If you are standing in front of the sun, in front of the sun, you will get the shadow of your back. This is because your body does not allow the light to pass through, and a shadow is formed in the front. Okay, through your body. Your body is an opaque thing, so that light is not passing through your body. That's why your shadow will be formed on the other side. Then the shadow form does not reflect the actual colors of the object. Shadows are always dark, isn't it? See, if any object, opaque object is there in front of the source of light, shadow will be formed. The opaque object will, if it has more colors, the shadow will be dark in color. Okay, the shadow forms or the shadow does not reflect the actual colors of the object. Okay, the shadow form does not reflect the actual colors of the object. It always dark. Okay, the shadow always dark. A shadow only shows the outline of the object and not the details. Okay, we can see only the outline. Okay, if you are standing in front of the sunlight, you can see only your outline, not the other parts. You cannot see the other parts. Okay, so the shadow form, the shadows only shows the outline of the object and not the details. And the size of the shadow. The size of the shadow, it depends upon the distance of the object from the source of light and also on the distance of the screen from the object. Okay, so the size of the shadow depends upon the distance of the object from the source of light and also distance of the screen from the object. Okay, if imagine suppose it is a screen, it is an object, opaque object, the source of light here. Okay, and the screen should be, it must be here. Okay, if the source of light is starting from here, the screen, you can see the shadow here, this side. Okay, and if the source of light here and this height, you will get the screen should be up to there. Okay, like that. So the size of the shadow depends upon the distance of the object from the source of light and also in the distance of the screen from the object. When the light source is close and the screen is away from the object, the size of the shadow increases. See, when the light of the, so for example, imagine this one is the opaque object and this one is the light of source. When the light source is close, the screen is away from the object and the size of the shadow increases. See, when the light of the source is close and the screen is away from the object, the screen this side is the screen. Okay, the size of the shadow increases. The size it will be increase in size. Okay, the size will be great or more. And when the source of light is away and the screen is close to the object, the size of the shadow decreases. In the picture it is given there. Okay, so when the source of light is away and the screen is close to the object, the size of the shadow decreases. So, these are the different characteristics of a shadow. Which are the different characteristics of a shadow? A shadow will always be formed on the opposite side of the source of light. Then, the shadow form does not reflect the actual colors of the object. It always dark. Then, the shadow shows the outline of the object and not the details. And the size of the shadow, it depends upon the distance from the object from the source of light and or the distance of the screen from the object. Okay, so these are the different characteristics of a shadow. Next one is formation of shadow at different times of the day. The formation of a shadow at different times of the day. So shadows change in length and position throughout the day. Have you ever noticed that one? See, the morning time, the size of the shadow, the length of the shadow and position of the shadow, the noon time and the evening. Okay, so have you ever noticed that one? Shadows change in length and position throughout the day. Early in the morning, when the sun shines low in the sky, its ray fall on an object at an angle. Hence, the shadow are longest in the morning. The shadow, it is very long. Okay. Then at noon time, the sun shines overhead. Okay. So it casts a short shadow as the rays of the sun fall directly on the object. Okay. The sunlight, it falls directly on the object. So we get a short shadow. And in the evening time, when the sun shines low in the sky, the shadow formed at the longest. Okay, so morning and evening you get the longest shadows, but in the noon time you get the short one. And so these are about the formation of shadows at different times of the day. What about night time? Will you get any shadows? No shadow is formed because there is no light. Night time there is no light, so shadows are not formed. Shadow is not formed. Okay, no shadow is formed if it is completely dark. So, however, a lamp or a bulb or even the moon can cause a shadow to form. Okay, moon. What about moon? Is it a luminous or non-luminous object? Say non-luminous object, right? Moon. Moon, it's a non-luminous object. But it reflects the light of the sun. It reflects the light of the sun. So, lamp, bulb or even the moon can cause a shadow to form. Okay, so these are the things about shadow. So, what are things we studied today? About light, right? Light is a form of energy and it helps us to see things. Light, it helps us to see things. Okay, and we learned transparent, translucent and opaque materials. So, what are the different materials? Transparent. What are transparent material? A material through which light passes easily. Okay, that is the transparent material. Translucent, a material through which light passes partially. And what are opaque? A material through which light does not pass. Okay, then next we will learn about shadow. A shadow, how the shadow form? A shadow is formed when an opaque or translucent object comes in the way of light, then the shadow form. So these are the things we have studied today. Now we can see the new words of this lesson. New words: luminous objects. Luminous. Luminous objects. Objects. Luminous objects. Non-luminous objects. Nonluminous. Non-luminous objects. Objects. Next is transparent materials. Transparent. Transparent materials. 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 Translucent materials. Translucent. Translucent materials. 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 Opaque materials. OPAQUE. Opaque materials. 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 Shadow. 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 Blocked. 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 Source. 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 Screen. 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 Angle. 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 So these are the new words from this lesson. You have to write and study. Okay, new words and answer the following questions. You have to write and study. Read the textbook at least 5 times. Read at least 5 times. Okay, study everything. See you in the next class. Have a great day ahead.